fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. For your latest news in high school sports, tune in to the fish report. Don't need no bed, don't need no pull. When you tune in to the fish report, hanging at the fish
Happy
report.
Friday, everyone, and welcome to another Fish Report Live. It is May 15th, 2020. I'm Craig Fissinger, and however you may be listening, whether that's on the Fish Report website, YouTube, or maybe Twitter, thanks for joining us. No cameras, this is audio only, and today on FRL, we are once again going to wrap up the weekend news. So we started this new format of the weekend news last Friday, and you know what? I had a lot of fun. If you happen to miss it, to sum everything up, I spend my week posting links to stories on the Fish Report website, and then on Friday, I'm reacting to some of those stories, giving you my opinion. And as I told one of our listeners last week, if I talk long enough, I will no doubt get myself into trouble here eventually, and you wouldn't want to miss that. So here we go. On Monday, we ran a YouTube clip of Fort Laramie alum Jared Hoying hitting his first home run of the baseball season from Sunday. We talked a little bit about Jared last week. He's playing ball over there in South Korea, the only place on the planet I think they're allowed to play baseball right now. This week was week number 2 of the Korean League, and since Sunday, just this week, Jared at the plate is 5 for 13 with 1 home run and 5 RBI. Now, he did leave the game early on Thursday after just 1 at bat. I guess some kind of back spasm or some kind of back problem, so we're all hoping for the best. But I want to talk about a related story that was on Yahoo Sports that we included with that home run video of Jared, and that's the league over there called the KBO, or the Korean Baseball Organization. And after Jared's team, the Hanwha Eagles, played their first series of the season, a 3-game series, several of the players involved in that series complained about the umpiring crew and their, quote, inconsistent strike zone. So last Friday, after 1 week of play, the KBO demoted this umpiring crew down to what I guess they consider their minor leagues, or it's called the Futures League, for what they called, quote, retraining. Are you kidding me? It just strikes me as extremely odd that a few complaints about balls and strikes after one series, people, was all this took. Yeah, I'll admit, I've never been to South Korea. I sure don't know what the baseball culture is like in South Korea. And I'm guessing the KBO, or I'm hoping the KBO, looked at video replay to determine this was the appropriate action. But you want to know what scares me the most? My biggest concern is what this means to all the umpire hecklers back here in the United States. You know, the ones at the Cincinnati Reds games and the ones at high school baseball games that always want to seem to sit close to me. Always want to prove how smart they are about baseball by complaining about balls and strikes from their view way up in the second deck or standing along the fence down the right field line. I can just hear it now. Hey, ump, you stink. You need retraining. Good gracious. Now watch, some of these same knuckleheads that have complained about missing baseball because of the coronavirus will be complaining about umpiring as soon as we get started again. I just hope we're all glad when baseball returns here in the United States, and more importantly here in Ohio, and we realize that an error by an umpire is really no worse than an error by your shortstop. Okay, on Tuesday, there were several good stories we ran, and our front page story was a couple local legends that were recognized this week posthumously. The first was former Coldwater football coach John Reed, who passed away 10 years ago on May 7th after he battled cancer. And I have to admit, I didn't know much about Coach Reed and wasn't very familiar with Coldwater football history during his long run with the Cavs program. But there was a tribute article on John in the Daily Standard that sports writer Gary Raspberry wrote, and he did a wonderful job with it. It explained John's legacy and the impact he had on so many of his players. And one of those players was former quarterback B.J. Lusridge, who led Coldwater to their first state championship game appearance all the way back in 1998. And he later went on to become a Navy SEAL. And he said that Coach Reed's teachings led him to do what he did. Wow. And another one of those players was former quarterback Keith Wenning. I know a lot of folks remember Keith. He led Coach Reed's last team in 2009 and later went on to become a big-time college star there at Ball State. Eventually got drafted in the NFL. But just really a neat article about an outstanding man. And the other local legend that we recognize on Tuesday, and I'm proud to call him a friend, I guess he was a colleague as well, and that's Russia alum Matt Zerker. Matt was the sports information director at the University of Northwestern Ohio for the past 3 years, and he passed away unexpectedly back in March. And in a press release that came out Monday evening, he was named by the Wolverine Hoosier Athletic Conference as Sports Information Director of the Year. It's an annual award that the WHAC gives out over there, and there were several nice comments from UNOH Athletic Director Chris Adams, as well as some nice comments from last year's award winner Tyler Stevenson at Indiana Tech. And I've got my own quick Matt Zerker story I'd like to tell. Matt was a big supporter of Fairlawn High School athletics in his adult life, where he lived over in their school district for many years. And I've always enjoyed heading to Fairlawn to broadcast their basketball games against Russia. For starters, I get the best seat in the house. I'm right there on the front row in the scorer's table. On my left, a couple feet away, is the Russia coaches. On my right would be Matt, keeping stats that he was always so good at doing, and he would hand those stats to me during every quarter. But what I really enjoyed about calling the games at Fairlawn, maybe more than anything, and I know broadcasters out there, guys like Jack Kramer and Scott Ward, they can relate to this, but I never had to worry about service, or in my case, internet service for broadcasting, because Fairlawn, they always had this Ethernet cord that at the scorer's table, and all I had to do was plug it in, and I was good to go. And believe me, that's a challenge at so many of the gyms around this area that, I'm usually depending on cellular service that can be spotty at best in more than a few gyms around here. But Fairlawn was never a problem. So one night I'm packing up my equipment after a game, and I noticed Matt, he's crawling on the floor between the scorer's table and the bleachers on his hands and knees, pulling up some tape off the floor. And I say, Matt, what are you doing? He says, oh, I'm just wrapping up this Ethernet cord. Well, I get to looking at it, and it never dawned on me, but this cord I'm using, it ran from the scorer's table, and then it goes under the bleachers, and it was taped down so fans didn't trip over it. And I asked Matt, doesn't that cord stay there all the time? He says, no, I came to the gym tonight to put it down for you. Folks, that's the kind of guy Matt Zerker was, and I'm not sure there'll be another one like him. Let's take a quick 30-second break. You're listening to Fish Report Live.
The Jewelry Barn in Russia, established in 2011, is proud to give you the best quality and prices. They have a qualified staff to provide you with great custom jewelry and jewelry repair. The Jewelry Barn also offers ear piercing, watch battery replacement, watch link adjustments, appraisals, free jewelry cleaning, and inspection for worn prongs and loose stones. They are certified by the Gemological Institute of America in diamond grading and color stone grading, and also certified in jewelry repair. Come in and check them out at the Jewelry Barn in Russia.
And you're listening to Fish Report Live, and we're recapping the week in news. On Wednesday, our top story included some news that the Ohio High School Athletic Association is moving the girls' state basketball tournament to the University of Dayton Arena starting this upcoming school year, and has a contract with UD Arena for 3 years, and that is big news. But the OHSAA was getting a little heat on Twitter over the announcement the day before. Here's what happened. On Tuesday at around 9:30 a.m., the OHSAA posted a tweet that said, "Breaking news alert." The news was coming at 10:30, an hour later, and that's all it said, which I'm not really sure why they put a teaser out there like that. I mean, naturally, all the talk here lately has been about fall sports, when kids are allowed to start practicing again, whether or not there's even going to be fall sports. So at 10:30, the announcement comes out that the girls' state tournament's moving to UD, and Twitter goes crazy with sarcasm. I mean, it just blows up. If there were 100 comments, 95 were like, really? This is your breaking news? What about fall sports? And I understand, like I said, I'm not really sure why the OHSAA posted that first tweet. I mean, you got these fall athletes right now on the edge of their seats. They just could have handled it a little better. As a matter of fact, a couple hours later, the OHSAA removed the breaking news tweet. So if you go back and try to find it, it's kind of dissipated into the Twitter stratosphere, I guess. But listen, on the other hand, let's not forget the girls' basketball season never really got to finish just 2 months ago. I mean, we had state tournament qualifiers at St. John's Arena in Columbus warming up for their first game when they got told to stop. And then they got drug along for, days or weeks before they were finally told, sorry, season's over. So at least it's the least we can do for high school girls basketball. Give them a little bit of excitement again after they were teased worse than that tweet on Tuesday. At the end of the day, we're still not positive what's going to happen with fall sports, and the girls' tournament is finally out of Ohio State's backyard, which I get the feeling they were tired of hosting it anyway. And one other bit of news from Wednesday, as the National Federation of State High Schools Association, or the NFHS for short, recently had a couple proposals in front of them that included a shot clock for high school basketball. One of the proposals was for a national mandate, and the other proposal was allowing the adoption of a shot clock by each individual state. Well, much to my own personal liking, each of those proposals was shot down. Now you might ask, why does Ohio have to listen to the NFHS? Well, for you casual fans out there, the NFHS is one organization that sets one set of consistent rules for all of their 50 member states. I mean, can you imagine if an Ohio school was playing an Indiana school and Ohio had a shot clock and Indiana didn't? Or let's say Indiana says, oh, we play 20-minute halves over here instead of 8-minute quarters like you guys do in Ohio. I mean, there's a lot of state line schools that cross borders for games, and some of your high school sports teams will travel out of state for holiday tournaments. The same rules for everyone is a good thing, in my opinion, and not having a shot clock is a good thing. And any of you stall ball haters out there, I can hear you now. You're yelling about the Russia four-corner offense, or heck, Fort Laramie's got a spread offense. I think they call it 4 to score or something like that. But listen, quit whining, quit packing the lane with your 5 defenders, and come out and play defense. For goodness sake, jeez. All right, well, let's take one more quick 30-second break before we wrap up our week in news. And when I come back, there was news this week about world-famous Versailles Poultry Days chicken. But what was even bigger news than that in Tigertown? We'll find out coming up next. You're listening to Fish Report Live. Made in the Shade Tents and Tables in Russia specializes in rentals of tents, tables, and chairs. These work great for graduations, birthdays, weddings, reunions, festivals, or sporting events. For pricing options or to make your reservations, contact owner Adam York at 937-726-4992. That's 937-726-4992, or email him at madeInShadeTents@gmail.com. Made in the Shade Tents and Tables in Russia. And you're listening to Fish Report Live and our weekend news from stories you may have read on the Fish Report website this week. So on Thursday, our front page was about Versailles Poultry Days and more ways to buy world famous chicken dinners. Pretty good news, right? Well, that wasn't the biggest story in Tigertown this week. The biggest story was Versailles senior and track and field star Lucy Prakel accepting an appointment to the United States Air Force Academy. Now, if you don't already know about Lucy, she comes from a very athletic family, including her brother, Sam Prakel. You might know him. He runs professionally right now for Adidas. And Lucy had a nice resume in Division II track and field coming into her senior year. She made it to the state meet her first 3 years in both the pole vault and the 4x1 relay. Last year as a junior, she also qualified in the 4x2 relay. But pole vault is her best event. And as a freshman, she finished 6th. Her sophomore year, she was 3rd. And her junior year, she was 8th. But last year, she was coming off an injury. So I was really looking forward to this senior year and seeing what she could do. And you might wonder, how do you know so much about Lucy? Well, I was invited to Versailles schools this past January to participate in some mock interviews, and one of the students I got was Lucy. Of course, I knew Lucy's accomplishments before she even started talking, so I kind of went off script a little, and instead of asking her the questions I was supposed to, I wanted to talk track and field. And I asked if she had made any college plans yet, and Lucy told me, she had visited Villanova, which is a great school, and it's a big-time track and field school, but she was really hoping to get selected into the Air Force Academy, and she told me how hard it was to get into and all the reasons she was trying to get in, and I have to say, when she was finished talking, I was more impressed in Lucy as a person than I even was as an athlete. So the article that was posted on Fish Report yesterday about Lucy ran in the Daily Advocate and had a quote from her that I think says it best. Listen to this. Lucy said, "At the Air Force Academy, they say they prove leaders of character, and I think that is a great thing. That is what I want to do. I want to do something greater than myself." Wow. How can you not be impressed with that? So if you listened to this show last week, you might have heard me say that the pride of Versailles was professional baseball player Craig Stammen. I think I want to add Lucy Prakel to that list too. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us here this week at Fish Report Live. Hope you enjoyed my thoughts on the weekend news. You can look forward to another audio report coming up next Friday. Until then, check out the website every weekday at www.fishreportonline.com. Thanks for tuning in. Get out to a local restaurant this weekend and have a great day, everyone.
Hanging at the Fish Report. 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 For your latest news in high school sports, tune in to the Fish Report. Don't need no bed, don't need no pull when you tune in to the Fish Report. Hanging at the Fish Report.